Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Please remain standing. Brunonia, let us pray. In this moment of beginning, we step forward through a beckoning gate that promises to close, not to shut out the world, but to encircle us, a community of scholarship, as we gather to work and to live together for this season. In this moment of beginning, we step not into our schedules, that abyss of appointments, papers, and courses that await us all. But as scholars new and established, we step together. We choose together to make a step on a continuing pilgrimage of learning. We choose a path for its promise of both knowledge and wisdom. We yearn together to understand better. We step together toward one another. We choose in this moment to entrust our lives to one another for this season in Brunonia. In this moment of beginning, we step onto the bricks of this place, choosing to listen for insight. Mid the sighing of the trees, poets speak from the realms of eternity. Toni Morrison instructs us that no matter how hard we try to ignore it, the mind always knows truth and wants clarity. Mary Oliver reminds attention is the beginning of devotion. And the ancient prophet Micah articulates that eternity requires that we seek justice, love kindness, walk humbly with God and with one another. In these, our first steps together, we choose mindfulness of our time and of this season, the thresholds that we cross, the gates swung wide to welcome our arrival. We pledge our gifts and disciplines to remove the lethal barriers of our time, the threat, the fear, the harm, the urgency, the global politics of greed, banality, and even bigotry, all that undermines human good, even our survival. We step together to choose attention, devotion to our generation and generations to come, in the deep, ancient, and ever-new truths that together we may find, our hearts, our minds will see with clarity. And we choose to step together, to seek justice and loving kindness, to reply to our neighbor's need here and far beyond, to open a path of human rescue that life on our swiftly changing planet may yet survive. With clarity, we know these endeavors to be worth our very lives, to be true, ever true. May we choose Brunonian steps adequate to fulfill the Charter's hope, to discharge our lives and the offices of life with usefulness and reputation, to become in this moment and in the moments to come a blessing in the life of a world within which all may yet be beloved. Amen. Please be seated.
Members of the Brown community, faculty, staff, alumni, parents, and students, it is my great pleasure as president of Brown University to declare the 256th academic year open. I want to welcome members of the entering classes of the medical school, graduate school, and the college. Among them are 144 dedicated medical school students, so dedicated that they've been here already a month and are studying for their first exam, so welcome. 876 exceptionally talented master's and doctoral students. 10 brilliant resumed undergraduate education scholars, students who've gained life experience after high school before coming to Brown. 85 very wise and perceptive transfer students. And of course, 1,665 exceptional first-year students, the core of the Brown class of 2023. Now, I want to give shout-outs to two groups of students. First, the 174 undergraduates who indicated on their applications that they are the first in their families to attend college. Welcome. And second, the 619 international students, undergraduate, graduate, and medical, who decided to pursue their education here in the United States at Brown. We welcome you. One of Brown's greatest strengths is the diversity of talent that it draws from all over the country and the world. And please take every opportunity that you can to learn from the incredible range of experiences and perspectives of your classmates and to share your own stories with them. Now, this is always a really wonderful day, celebratory. It's filled with excitement and anticipation about the academic year that's about to begin. But even on a joyful occasion like this, we have to remember the world outside of Brown. And so I ask that we pause for a moment of silence in recognition of the victims and families affected by gun violence in this country, most recently in Gilroy, El Paso, Dayton, and just recently Odessa, as well as in other episodes of violence around the globe. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. You know, often when terrible things happen, we feel powerless to do anything to make the world better. But I think my single message to you today is that you don't have to feel that way. And I say this because I know that your Brown experience will empower you to tackle the world's greatest challenges. Today, I want to make the case that learning how to make the world better is exactly why you are here, and that your Brown education will give you exactly the right knowledge and experience you'll need to be a powerful agent of change. You will have so many opportunities to learn from and work with people, faculty, staff, and other students who are dedicated to using their knowledge to make a difference. And you will find so many occasions to put what you learn to good use. Let me begin by telling you about Megan Ranney. Megan is an emergency physician and a faculty member at the Warren Alpert Medical School here at Brown. Now, emergency department doctors like Megan are on the front lines of treating victims of gun violence, saving lives day in, day out. But Megan wants to do more. She wants to prevent gun violence. She views firearms injuries and deaths through the lens of public health, literally as a public health crisis. Her research, which she often conducts together with Brown students, is informed by data on what approaches work and which don't, like, for example, the myth that mental illness is the primary cause of mass shootings. In a recent op-ed, Megan and a co-author pointed out that, and I quote, "Mental illness is certainly a problem in this country, but hate is not a mental illness." Megan is a driving force within a growing network of healthcare professionals who are dedicated to preventing gun violence. And in part because their data-driven public health approach rises at least a little bit above the fray of partisan politics, they're changing public opinion and they are impacting policy. They're making a difference. This is the kind of powerful work that you will find here at Brown, work that you can contribute to through classes, internships, independent research, extracurricular activities. Megan and many others like her will inspire you, inspire all of us to live lives of meaning and purpose. My broader point is that knowledge does confer the power to make the world better. And I could give so many examples based on what's happening right here at Brown. One example, the pioneering work over at the Institute at Brown for Environment and Society to help cities and regions of the world develop resilience to climate change and plan for a clean energy future. The Costs of War project over at the Watson Institute for International and Public Affairs, with leadership from Professor of Anthropology Catherine Lutz, is bringing into very sharp focus the financial and human costs of global conflicts. A collaboration between Brown Center for the Study of Slavery and Justice and Firelight Media. They're working to produce a multi-part documentary about the Atlantic slave trade to deepen our understanding of how its legacies continue to shape the modern world, even 400 years ago, just last month, after the first enslaved Africans arrived in North America. I would also note the work of the Annenberg Institute for School Reform, where Brown students are working with faculty to assess how to help struggling K-12 school systems prepare children for lives of upward mobility, where the kind of practical knowledge that's desperately needed across the world and right here in Providence. Or finally, I'd note the research in Dr. Jake Curtis's lab to create a vaccine for malaria. This is a disease that kills over 1 million people per year, mostly children under the age of 5. It turns out that Jake, now a faculty member and director of Brown's MD PhD program, he went to college at Brown, just like all of you. His passion for curing malaria was inspired by a summer internship after his junior year when he went to Kenya to study coral reef ecology. Now, you might wonder how he went from studying coral reef ecology to seeking a cure for malaria. Maybe you guessed it. He contracted cerebral malaria while he was in Kenya on that internship. But fortunately for the world, he recovered. Now, my lesson here is that you don't have to be stricken with a potentially deadly disease to find your calling in life. Please don't. We don't want that to happen. But you do have to approach your studies with rigor and intentionality and a mind that's open to seeing how the knowledge that you acquire will empower you to make the world better. Finally, I want to highlight two important related points as you embark on your journey as Brown students. One, the single most important virtue that you'll cultivate at Brown are habits of mind. that enable you to analyze and communicate and address complex issues with empathy and nuance and wisdom. And two, you can acquire these habits of mind by studying, well, pretty much anything. Now, I'm an economist, and this is a field considered by many, rightly or wrongly, to be a sure path to a good job. And we have so many outstanding students here at Brown who are learning about engineering and computer science and medicine. And if you study these subjects, it will be obvious how the knowledge that you're acquiring can be applied to pressing real-world issues. But for those of you who are drawn to subjects that may seem farther removed from the issues of the day, philosophy or theater or theoretical astrophysics, remind yourselves, and possibly your skeptical parents, that you are developing the strongest possible foundation for a life of meaning and purpose. The world's problems can't be addressed without people who think deeply about ethics, who understand the power of art to raise provocative questions and bring groups together, or who, by studying the universe, are able to see human problems with balance and perspective. And I suspect that this is in part why you chose Brown, to explore, to inquire, to discover precisely how you can make the world better. And I believe this will prove to be among the most profound choices you will ever make. Now let me introduce our keynote speaker. There is no one better than Dean of the College, Rashid Zia, to explain the power of the principles that drive Brown's approach to education and scholarship. Dean Zia knows Brown well from multiple perspectives. As a Brown undergraduate, he came to appreciate how the open curriculum put students at the center of their academic journeys and empowered them to learn how to learn. Inspired by a faculty essay on the importance of taking courses outside of one's comfort zone, he loved that he could study English and engineering at the same time. And so he decided to concentrate in both. As a Brown professor, he knows his students are there because they want to be there. They want to be challenged, and they want to learn across disciplines. And he gets how important mentoring is at Brown, particularly for first-year students, and he expresses gratitude regularly for the support that faculty, staff, and peers gave him while he was an undergraduate. As Dean of the College, Rashid Zia sets the tone for academic excellence, ensuring that all Brown students are engaged, empowered, and transformed by their education. This year, as we mark the 50th anniversary of the open curriculum, his thought leadership celebrates Brown's collaborative, rigorous, student-centered academic culture. His passion, lifelong passion for Brown's educational mission is among the many reasons we're lucky to have him here. So please welcome our Dean of the College, Rashid Zia.
Thank you, President Paxson, for the kind introduction. Sorry, I'm going to flip. And thank you so much for the opportunity to welcome the newest members of our Brown community. Good afternoon to the undergraduate class of 2023. And to the undergraduate class of 2024 from our Brown RISD dual degree program. Good afternoon to our newest transfer and resumed undergraduate education students from the classes of 2021, 2022, 2023. We are so delighted to have you join us. And good afternoon to all of the new graduate medical and professional students from the master's class of 2020 to the medical class of 2023 and the doctoral classes of 2022, 2023, 2024, and beyond. It is my sincere honor to welcome you today from this location, because as a Brown undergraduate alum, this building, Faunce House, has special meaning for me. I still remember with joy my first evening here on these steps, where my class gathered for the annual ice cream social. I still recall with anticipation and excitement of that evening, how exhilarating it was to meet so many peers from around the country and around the world who shared so many hopes and interests and values. The people I met that night, and over the course of my studies here at Brown, which thankfully continue to this day, would become my friends and mentors, my colleagues and teachers, members of my chosen family, united by a shared passion for learning, for discovery, and for community. So in our brief time together this afternoon, I want to share with you some stories and suggestions that might help you to find and make space on this campus. And to set the stage, I hope it is okay if we use as a touchstone the final word from our Latin motto, speramus. Speramus is the plural subjective case of the verb to hope. We hope, we trust, good things will happen. Ian, my classics classmate that I met on these steps that night, would be proud. It's my goal today to bring forth these words and to show you how hope and trust have helped to shape this university into one of the most powerful spaces for shared learning and discovery in the world. Let me start, though, with a story of hopes. The hopes that carried you up College Hill and through the gates of our campus. If you close your eyes, I'm sure you can imagine the many people whose care and kindness made your journey to this place possible. Your family and friends, teachers and counselors, loved ones. And as you picture them, think of their concrete hopes for you here, all that they might wish you do and achieve here. I am lucky because I do not need to close my eyes to picture some of the people whose hopes carried me to this campus. My mother and father are here with us this afternoon. Salam Baba, Salam Mama. My dad was the first in his family to go to college in Iran, and was then fortunate to earn a fellowship to come to America for graduate studies. I can only imagine the hopes that helped carry my dad and mom on that flight to the United States, or after graduation on their flight back home to Iran, where they would start and grow our family. Of all of those concrete hopes, though, I am sure that they could never have imagined the impact of that journey or how education would transform their lives, ultimately helping our family escape the bombs of the Iran-Iraq War to rebuild our home here as immigrants and now citizens of the United States. Life is so unpredictable and the impact of education so profound that whatever those concrete hopes may be that have lifted you to this place today, they most certainly underestimate what will be made possible by your education. Because education and research and shared knowledge expand the realms of possibility. They allow us to imagine and then realize better lives for ourselves, for our communities, for our world. This hope, this optimism in education defines the foundation of our community. Optimism is at the very core of the open curriculum, which underlies the spirit of shared learning and open inquiry on this campus. When people come together, there is a fundamental choice, a choice about how we associate with one another, how we build rules and structures. In many settings, people come together and design rules that avoid conflict. They seek to anticipate and prevent all that could go wrong. At Brown, we chose 50 years ago to take a different path. Inspired by students like yourselves who imagined what might be the best possible education, our curriculum sets out to promote all that could go right. Rather than beginning with a set of rules, our open curriculum is defined by a philosophy of education, an enduring and unifying purpose. This is why when you open Brown Faculty Rules and Regulations to the section entitled Baccalaureate Degree Requirements, The first text you see is not a requirement at all. It is a short, 5-sentence statement of principles that defines the purpose of education at Brown. It was here, within Faunce House, on the evening of May 7, 1969, that students, faculty, and administrators crafted those 5 enduring sentences that would come to define Brown's distinctive approach to education, and I would like to share them with you today. The first sentence says, the purpose of undergraduate education, and indeed all education at Brown, is to promote the intellectual and personal growth of the individual student. The key words here are the individual student. We are not seeking to create an education that works for most students, or for an idealized student, or for one type of student. Rather, we seek to provide an individualized education for each and every student on this campus. The next sentence defines how we achieve this high standard. It says, the student, ultimately responsible for their own development in both of these areas, must be an active participant in framing their own education. The only way to achieve an individualized education is to provide you, the student, with the opportunity and responsibility to make choices, to take risks, to challenge yourselves, and to thus learn through both success and failure. Of course, that process is hard. And so the next sentence defines how we support this as a community. It says, a central aspect of this development is the relationship of the student with professors, with staff, and with fellow students, and with the material they approach together. This is a statement about partnership and shared learning, about how we support one another, one which I hope you have already seen in action since you've arrived here, with your academic advisors, and Meiklejohn peer advisors, and residential peer leaders. And it is one that I hope you will live out, perhaps as first-year UTRA fellows this summer, working in close partnership with faculty on research projects advancing the frontiers of knowledge. Perhaps as problem-solving fellows and writing fellows, deepening and sharing that knowledge with fellow peers, as mentors and teachers on campus, and as engaged scholars working with off-campus partners to apply knowledge in support of our local and global communities. Having defined both purpose and practice, then and only then does the statement turn to rules. It says, it concludes, structures, rules, and regulations of the university should facilitate these relationships and should provide the student with maximum opportunity to formulate and achieve their educational objectives. Accordingly, the curricular structure reflects these purposes. Because of course, we need rules and structure to define our community, but our community is not and should not be defined by those rules. Rather, if we seek to achieve all that education can enable, the rules and structures should help to support our relationships with one another and with the material we approach together. In the abstract, this philosophy is great, but let me share a secret you will soon discover. In practice, it can be hard because optimism relies on trust. We have to trust one another. Remember those loved ones and their hopes for you. To the extent that you can feel and see their goals and best intentions for you, that trust has taken a lifetime to build. And the challenge is that when we enter into new communities, it will take time to build that trust again. Even more importantly, we can never truly know others' intentions or goals. Although our minds are trained from birth to construct narratives and explanations of the world around us, we cannot know why someone does the things they do. And this poses a challenge, especially within any community of smart and observant scholars. It is hard not to see intent in actions. I recall watching a video that helps to illustrate this problem, which I think I'm going to try to pantomime. So, in this video, there are two dots, one big and one small. First, they move from left to right across the screen, disappearing, before returning in switched positions, moving from right to left. When asked to describe the video to others, many people will say something like, "The big dot was chasing the little dot," or "The little dot was running away from the big dot." That is, most of us, myself included, will construct a narrative. We will ascribe intentions to the characters we see. There is thankfully, though, a way we can use this inclination to build trust. And it is one that I have learned from my students, mentors, and colleagues here: to honor intentions. Since we can never have access to what another person thinks or wants, we can try to imagine the best possible intention. Perhaps the little dot was late for class and was running as fast as they could to get there. Perhaps the big dot saw them drop their wallet and was running to return it. I know this example is artificial, but I am sure that each of you can imagine a more concrete case for yourself. Perhaps when someone you met this weekend did something unexpected, and your mind quickly filled in the gap. Next time it happens, see if you can slow down that moment and imagine the best possible intentions. The complement to this challenge, however, is even harder. While we never know the intentions of others, we always feel deeply aware and confident in our own intentions. That means when things go awry, when mistakes occur, and when our actions have unexpected consequences, it can be hard to understand and reconcile. These are the moments that can break trust, when we may fall short of ourselves and our hopes. But even then, the process can be helped by practice. Trust me, I have made enough mistakes to have practiced a lot. Rebuilding trust requires owning our impact, understanding that regardless of our best intentions, if we seek to be in this shared learning community together, we must take account of how our actions impact others, especially in the ways that we did not intend. Owning our impact begins with empathy, with reflection, and with a sincere commitment to both learn from our mistakes and to take actions to make amends. It is an active process and a human lesson, a part of our personal and intellectual development. Honoring intentions and owning impact are thus at the heart of this community, at the foundation of our purpose-driven curriculum, and they represent, I would venture, the best path toward realizing our shared hopes for this campus, for this country, and for this world together. We place our faith in you and all that you will accomplish. Speramus. We hope, we trust, good things will happen. Thank you.
Let's give another round of applause to Dean Zia for a great keynote. And again, I extend my very best wishes to all of you for a happy and productive and healthy academic year and beyond. Now, please join us join the higher keys in singing the alma mater. I know many of you don't know the words yet. They are in your program. So let's go.
Alma mater, we hail thee with loyal devotion, and bring to thine altar our offerings of praise. Our hearts swell within us with joyful emotion, as the name of old Brown in loud chorus we raise. The happy Endless moments of youth's fleeting hours we've passed 'neath the shade of these time